Ha ha! Good morning, friends. It is I, Alphinius Goo, with Luke Gygax and Camera Mandy. Say hello, everybody.
Hi, Luke. Hello.
He's like, I can't hear you.
Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I do hear you guys. I'm sorry. For some reason, it was muted.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Magnificent. Thank you for a marvelous evening last night with our friend Matt. Casey Rift to the world, yes?
Yeah, it was a great time. It was very nice to be out here. You have a beautiful home, by the way. It's a lovely, I would say, cottage in the woods, but it's a little larger than a cottage.
It's totally a cottage.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we had a lot of kids. Mandy, how are you? How's Disney?
I am so tired. So good luck, guys.
You look like a ball of energy.
Yes.
I know. We did last night. We did the Magic Castle, which is open pretty late. So, have you done that before, Luke?
I did it when I was like 12 or 13, but I haven't been back since then.
Oh, you gotta find someone who can get you a guest pass because it's a. I mean, are you into magic? They literally have a parlor of prestidigitation. So
yeah, it was pretty cool. There was some neat magic tricks that were going on there. I'm sure I know some people who can get me into the Magic Castle. I just I thought it had closed. So
I know it was in danger of like having to move locations, but I don't know. They figured it out, and it's
great.
Yeah. And for anyone who's watching, it's who doesn't know, it's just an incredible location, like an old Victorian secret mansion. And then they fill the place with magicians, and all night long you can go and just do magic shows and see some incredible acts. So
and do they serve booze there, cameraman?
They have bars everywhere. You have to go eat there, and the food is expensive. It's like 2 entree minimum or something like that. And that's how they make their money, is through this restaurant. And the food is very good. I had an amazing pork chop with whipped potato. It was so good. And then they just have $20 cocktails throughout the entire place.
Well, half an hour ago, let's just be clear, friends. Half an hour ago, I called Camera Mandy. She did not answer 2 times. So, because I know who the responsible one is in their household, I called Adam, who answered the phone like this. Hello? And I was like, oh, you guys are asleep, aren't you?
Yes. Well, we got in around 2, and we're an hour earlier here in California. So
yes.
me and Luke have switched. He's normally here, and I'm normally there. So
that's right. Yeah, we had to switch places.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to talk too much though about vacation stuff. We always bore people with all that good stuff. But
actually, I thought we were going to do a slideshow of all the pictures of you and Adam running around Disney.
Did you get Mickey Mouse ears or anything like that?
I do the whole Disney adult thing, Luke. It's embarrassing, but
that is embarrassing. Do you have children you're going with, or is it just grown-ups?
No, it's just me, my child-free husband.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? We all play games for a living, so it's recapturing the childhood wonder or whatever. So it's fine. It's good. But we do adult things while we're out here too. I always say the worst freaking things when you're on. But no,
you do adult things when you're at Disneyland.
We did get drunk. To be clear, we did get
drunk.
Let
me look disapprovingly at you.
Yes, no. Somebody needs. Oh, there's Adam. Hello, Adam.
Adam's
so listen, somebody needs to grab that clip and post that in the den. We do adult things at Disneyland.
we did get drunk on, what day was it? Thursday. Yeah, we had a good time.
Did Adam just walk by in his underwear?
No, he's in his pajamas.
That's another great clip.
You never know what you're going to get on Good Morning, Zyathé.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's a quite a grab.
So listen, I want to tell everybody we got some great stuff to talk. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Luke.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm going on vacation sort of next week. I'm going to the UK for UK Games Expo.
Oh, fun!
Yeah, I'm gonna go into London and meet Chris Birch from Modifius and his lovely wife Rita. We're going to have dinner, and then he's going to drive us up to the show. And it's their 20th anniversary, so I'm going to be running games and doing a bunch of fun stuff there. which reminds me I've got to probably print all my character sheets and make sure I'm ready. So, oh my god!
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so.
Nice trip to Colorado here.
Are you going to do other things though aside from the Game Expo?
Yeah, after the Game Expo wraps up, Monday's kind of like a recovery and probably laundry day. I'll try to figure that out, and then we're gonna hop in some cars with Richard Denning and his wife Jane, and probably Finney, an old friend of his, and head to Scotland. And we're gonna go up and do like a week in Scotland, drive around, and go up to Edinburgh and fly back from there to LA on the 9th of June. So be out of the country for a little while. Which will be exciting. I've never been to Scotland, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, of course, there's too much stuff to do now. I'm kind of like, oh, I have a whole lot of deadlines. I wish I'd been working on those more earlier.
So Luke, I got to tell you this. So Ms. Goo and I, we drove up to Loch Ness. We were just kind of hanging around, right? But we in the southern area, and we said, let's drive up to Loch Ness, and we didn't have any place to stay, and we had no idea what we were going to do. It's a good long trip. And so we went up there, and it's really beautiful. It is a beautiful lake. But of course, you're really there because of Nessie, right? And all of that stuff. And we just found a wonderful little place up there, and we just kept our hotel back in the South, and just stayed up there the night. It was really wonderful. But speed cameras, be very careful. On the trip up, they have those speed. There's no cops. They don't need cops. They got the cameras.
Wait, are you saying that you got caught?
No, ma'am. I was a good boy.
Okay.
All right. So we got a great stream. We're very excited. So Luke has some really cool news that not very many people really know about that he's going to share today. But also last night, with Matt, we had a very interesting conversation, and I think the people watching will be interested in this, about the satanic panic and its effect on your family. And I don't think people have a clue what you all went through, and I'm not sure very many people know this at all. So this is going to be an interesting topic. So you can kind of kick it off however you'd like to kick it off, but this was interesting.
Yeah, so I've a lot of people. I talk about the history of D&D and my family and that sort of stuff oftentimes, and then I bring up the satanic panic. And if you're a Gen Xer or older, you kind of remember those times. Although many were kids, and so their experience with the satanic panic was, oh man, my parents took my D&D books away and threw them away or whatever it was, or forbid me to hang out and play. And it was a real thing. People thought that they just looked at the covers of the books. And they thought, oh my God, that big red devil on the DMG, they don't care that it's in a Freet or anything like that. It's City of Brass. No, that doesn't matter. It's that's a big demon, and you're obviously going to be worshiping Satan because there's spells and pictures of demons and stuff like that. This was also the same time where heavy metal artists like Ozzy Osbourne were being accused of inciting suicide, or that you could play records backwards and hear satanic messages. And Kiss, you guys know the band Kiss, were knights in Satan's service. That's why it was Kiss, right? So all sorts of like fantastical beliefs. There was no internet, and people would just spread these rumors and kind of panic, right? Have this panic. And there were preachers who would televise evangelists who would raise money by getting people stirred up into a fervor.
So Luke, let me interrupt you for a second, because I want you to know something. I had a nice collection of records in those days. Right. Yeah. But there was a few of them that I was kind of done with. They were scratched or whatever. And I tried the pushing it backwards thing. Like it didn't really work. No. You had to really imagine that.
No, there is. Now I did a Call of Cthulhu module called The Dread from Geneva Lake. And you basically get transported to like a parallel, like an alternate or parallel, the upside down sort of the Grand Geneva, the Bunny Resort, right, as it used to be called back in the days. And you do find a record album there, and if you play it backwards, it gives you hints of there's music. And my friend Eric Harris and the band Gygax actually made like a 2-minute song that sounded like an old Black Sabbath song that had that with all the and he did it. We had a backwards version and a forwards version, so you could when you heard it.
you could definitely press records to have them play both ways. There's no question you could do that. But every record that I had, and a couple of them were supposedly the the records, right? And for me, like the Rolling Stones, even when I was a kid, right, which is much more conservative time for the country in that regard, and they really the Rolling Stones, they didn't have to. There was no need for us backmasking satanic messages. They were very out. they were just open. So I don't know. It's anyway. Keep going. This is great.
But basically, a lot of people kind of laugh at the Satanic Panic. It's a joke now, right? Mm-hmm. But at the time, this was real, right? This was in people's minds. This was real. People were really doing book burnings, and they really thought their kids were being incited to worship the devil, and their lives were at risk of being sucked into some cult, or their soul was at risk, and this sort of stuff. So people, when you say that sort of stuff, there's people who really, really believe it. Maybe they're not quite 100%, mentally stable. My dad would get death threats. People would write letters, saying you're a servant of Satan, and we destroy you. Even the church that we belonged to, we were Jehovah's Witnesses. He'd been excommunicated for having long hair and smoking cigarettes. So they said, you can no longer be a member of our congregation. And so he's like, fine, if you guys are that superficial, that doesn't really seem to match with what, the teachings anyway. But then further, they put out in their periodicals, Dungeons and Dragons is from Satan. He's like, are you kidding me? So he was pretty frustrated with that. But these get death threats, and people would drive by our house in Clinton, Wisconsin, where I lived at the time. And it's a very rural area, and no one, we didn't know what they were about. So because of that, my dad took a lot of measures. He had a 6-foot cyclone fence put up around a couple acres of our land. We had 22 acres, so we didn't fence in the whole thing. We had 6 Malamute Husky dogs that we'd let run at night on the grounds. He put in motion detectors in the 80s, so that was a big deal. He had all the windows were wired, for an alarm system in the doors. We had guns in pretty much every room and lots of ammunition and stuff like that. He carried a gun with him. He had a bulletproof vest, and his driver carried a gun because those death threats were very real. So it wasn't funny for him because he was out doing these things, and he didn't want some crazy person to come and shoot him. If you think about it, John Lennon was assassinated right around that time. President Reagan was shot by another kind of wacky guy. So these were not unheard of even in the 80s, right? There was crazy stuff happening. And my mom obviously was very concerned as well because we were, I was 10 or 11 probably in this time period, And so one day a car did drive by our home like twice, and that was unusual. And we had gates and the whole thing. So she hopped in her car and she chased this car out of the subdivision to wherever their home was.
So she jumped in the car.
In the car and chased the person in the car, and followed their car to wherever they went. I think they went to a house and pulled in, and she got out quite irate and started yelling at him. "What are you doing going by my house?" And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I played Dungeons and Dragons, and I heard that the creator of Dungeons and Dragons lived in this house, and I just wanted to see the house." And so she was like, "Oh, okay." But upon reflection, she realized, oh, that wasn't a really good idea. If it was somebody dangerous, that was the wrong move. But she was just in the protect her kids mode.
He was a barbarian.
Yeah, she was called the pirate. She was called the Pirate Queen by Fritz Leiber, the science fiction author.
Nice.
Because he came to, I think it was Fritz. I think Fritz was at Gen Con 9 or 10. He came, and my mom was helping organize the convention at that time. And so things weren't going perfectly well. And if my mom had a couple beers, she was a lightweight, right? So I think she had a couple Heinekens, and she let out cursed someone a blue streak because something wasn't right. And she's probably 45 or 42 or something like that age. She has red hair, and she was quite a beautiful woman. Fritz Leiber said, you're like a pirate queen with the way that you handle yourself, whatever, a beer in the hand and cursing out the guys who got it wrong. And so he either had made or found a statuette, like a bronze statuette was probably 5 inches tall or something like that, of a like a pirate, like an armor, a scantily clad, woman with like a bandana and like a cutlass or whatever, and the boots, the pirate boots, and that sort of stuff. And he sent it to her, and they corresponded quite a bit. He was an older guy. I think he was in his late 70s, maybe at that point in time. But he was very flirtatious, regardless. He was a gentleman, but he would.
I think I know somebody like that. I think his name's Ed.
Yeah, you know what? That's not too far off. I think, yeah.
Ed is very flirty with everybody, really. I mean,
yes.
with everybody.
And I don't think he means anything by it.
No.
He's so fun.
Yeah.
But so last time I was with him, he like gave Adam some like advice about how to help me with like my back and my neck, and I could not tell if he was joking or not. That's the thing, because he's always joking. He's like, Mandy, I'm being very serious right now. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop smiling. I'm sorry.
No, I mean Ed. I'm a big fan of Ed. He's such a nice guy. I got to know him through GaryCon over the past few years. I had the pleasure of doing a little streaming with him up in Canada. He lives in Canada, and he couldn't make it to GaryCon for a long time because his wife Jenny had been ill for a long time, and unfortunately, just 5-6 years ago, I've lost track of the time exactly. She passed away, and so he has a bit more freedom to attend conventions as he's not a caregiver. But Ed, so I got to know him very well, a nice guy. And I realized he's very generous, and he continues, and thoughtful of others, really. He continues to work as a librarian in Canada. I'm pretty darn sure he doesn't need to do that. He could find plenty of work doing creative stuff. But he says he doesn't retire or quit because he says all the little old ladies he works with whose kids are graduating college or high school or wherever it is, there's no replacements. The Canadian government isn't backfilling anyone who leaves, so they're just short-staffed. He said they couldn't take vacation and days off to go to their graduations and see these events if I left. So I stay, and when they need me to work so they can go to these things, I fill in for them and take care of this. So it's just such a nice guy, right? And we also now incredibly talented creator as well, as we all know. I was a pleasure to award him the Igor Gygax Lifetime Achievement Award at GaryCon just this year. And I think it surprised him, which was great because he looked flabbergasted.
He definitely looked flabbergasted. Luke, it's interesting. I think about sort of this journey that we began, because Ed is now working, of course, for the next Gygax thing. He's working on a malady of mimics. So we started with the trouble with rats. Now we have a malady of mimics, and it's very fun. It's going to be wonderful. And it's just been such a pleasure to work with him and with you, right? And to sort of honor your dad and honor the early years. And by the way, I think we'd be remiss. Let's take a moment and would you talk about Jim Ward a little bit, because today's Jim Ward Day, and you knew him well,
right? Isn't it the 23rd?
Yeah, so Jim Ward Day is on his birthday, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. And he always loved May. The first Robin of Spring and May Day and these sorts of things. And his posts, if you look back, if you were friends with him on Facebook, or you can probably go look, I believe it's still up. But no, I know Jim since I was less than 7 years old for sure. He would come over to our house on Chapin Road in Lake Geneva, and he was a school teacher. I think he taught English, if I remember correctly. And he was freshly out of college, and he'd come over and play games. And then he played Drawmidge, which was his magic user character, Jim Ward backwards, Drawmidge. And he reminded me of this many years later. I was playing Otis, I think, and there was a vampire that we'd run into, and the vampire was trying to attack Drawmidge, and Drawmidge was a magic user and had a very low armor class. And he was like, "Oh no, I'm going to lose 2 levels." And I said, "No, I'm not going to let that happen." I jump in front of him and defend him or whatever. And he's like, "I always appreciate that. You always are looking out for me as a good kid." And of course, I had a little bit better armor class as a ranger, and I had some armor and stuff, and you managed to avoid him getting hit. But anyway, Jim Ward was obviously the creator of Metamorphosis Alpha, the first science fiction role-playing game. So he loved science fiction. He met my dad in the Breadloaf Bookshop in Lake Geneva, and they were both checking out. It was probably 1973, something like that. And it was Jim Ward just out of college and taking his first job as a teacher. And they had the same 6 books in their hands.
No
It was
way.
a Conan book, or they're like, wow, okay, we have the same 6 books. And then my dad's like, hey, how would you, I have a game where you could play Conan and break into the temple of Set and, steal a ruby or whatever. He's like, do you want to try it out? And he's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And so he came over and got introduced to, a very early version of Dungeons and Dragons. And he was hooked then. And he came over as a regular player. He's like, hey, you should do a science fiction version of this, Gary. And my dad was like, you want that? He's like, great, you write it. He's like, yeah, right. So he just coached him up. And Jim wrote Metamorphosis Alpha, which was basically kind of became Gamma World later on.
Yes,
right?
of course. And so that began your dad's friendship with Jim, right? And how? How did they? Your dad obviously formed TSR with.
Yep.
And who were all the partners of TSR? Just so make sure everybody knows.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So initially it was Gygax and K.
That's right. That's right.
So it was Gygax and Don K. That's why you see the GK logo on things. And then just as I think they just sold their first 1,000 D&D sets, right? Which was an investment from Don K. And I think they took in also some monies from a guy named Melvin Bloom, who was just a tool and die guy in Lake Geneva. And he was a minority partner. And it was Gygax and K. And then so very sadly, Don K died of a heart attack at 36.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And his widow, Donna, did not want to stay in the company. And so they really had a choice. She's like, hey, you need to pay me out. And they're like, well, we need to print books. And she's like, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Get all the stuff out of my garage and pay me. And so they had to go in and take other investors, which became Melvin's sons. Actually said, my kids are probably better. I'm going to give, they're going to go in this interest in the company. And so it was Brian Bloom and Kevin Bloom and my dad. And of course, my dad had no money. He was destitute. He was a cobbler with 5 kids. And we were on like food stamps, eventually to feed the family. My mom gardened. We wore hand-me-down clothes, and there was nothing, no car, none of that stuff. So he had no money to do this. So he needed to bring those people, which later is how he ended up being a very slight minority shareholder, right? He had like 49%, but they had 51, and they ended up selling all their interest to somebody else, who then fired my dad and kicked him out of the company in 1985. So that's the ambush on Sheridan Springs. If you want to Google search that, you can read up a little bit on that. And I think, also Playing at the World blog talks about it in a few other places. But it's interesting. Game Wizards also talks about it. That's another John Peterson book. But Jim worked with my dad, did Gamma World stuff. He did a game called Spellfire. He stayed on with TSR even after my dad left. Then eventually when Wizards of the Coast purchased a TSR, he did not move out to Seattle. He remained in Elkhorn and continued to do independent work. And later on, my dad and him got together and worked on things. But he was a regular when I was in college. Jim was a regular player in my dad's Legendary Adventures game, or whatever game he was playtesting at the time. Jim would come over and work. And of course, Jim was a consultant and was working on Castle Zagig as well prior to my father's death in 2008. So Jim had some illnesses that befell him later in life, and I was helped him raise some money to cover medical bills and things. He hated to ask for help, but I knew, being a friend, I knew that he needed it. And so that's actually the way that I got a copy of my dad's dungeon. He gave me the copy that he was working on with all his notes in it. So, yeah, which is very useful. Because
of what you just been doing
with my dad, and there was notes in there describing all those things. So having that as a reference tool is very, very useful for Castle Zagig for sure.
I mean,
Jim was a great guy, and so Jim was a guy who's kind of an uncle to me. For me, I knew him as a kid, so he'd call me Little Lucas, so as a boy. Then I got to know him through GaryCon, and we became friends as adults. And I'd call him for advice, or he'd whatever, we'd tell stories about my dad or whatever. So he kind of became a close friend, somebody I could lean on. And when I went to start writing some modules again, and for GaryCon, he's the guy I picked out to write the first 3 modules with. And we did that 2013, 14, and 15, I think, if I remember right. So
very cool. I mean, that's and I mean, what a great creative. I mean, just his sensibilities, his thought process, a good writer, all of that stuff. Of course, if it was an English teacher, that probably gives a little bit of insight into sort of his bent. Mandy, are there any questions that have been coming up in the chat? Because I should have asked you about that, and I wasn't really, because I know some people might want to talk about some of the things we talked about, like the satanic panic or
there was I put some on the screen. The chat's been popping off. Mostly comments. There was a whole thing about mimics in the chat.
So Luke, should I give them just a little bit of spoilers about this real quick before we talk?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So it's really we talked. So Ethholm, of course, is our wonderful village honoring Hamlet, and in there's all the so many wonderful legends of the game, and but also this is a place where hopefully your young low level adventurers, which of course this follows on from A Trouble with Rats, so they're going to be low level. And what Ed wants to do is he wants to have this guy called the Mimic Master. And the Mimic Master travels around in this wagon and brings his little flock of mimics. I'm not sure what is a group of mimics called. Somebody needs to look that up. Do you even know?
A melody of mimics. I don't know.
Well, that's what we said. It's a melody, right? But we don't know. We don't know. Anyway, I didn't think about that. Anyway, so the Mimic Master is literally using his mimics to rob people in Ethholm, and somebody gets killed and disappears, and I think it's going to be a wonderful, fun little side adventure for a low level party. So Ed's working on that. Yes, Mandy.
It is called a trickery, or sometimes a colony.
A trickery of mimics. Very
now, that's
good.
the AI overview, so I'm sorry if that is incorrect, but
we wanted to have a alliteration. So this is why it is a malady of mimics.
I think a malady of mimics is perfect. So yes.
Anyway,
also,
so Ed's working on that.
Of mimics.
And Paul is speaking of mimics, a wagon. Yes, and actually, Randy, there has been some discussion that he has one big mimic that is basically his wagon. So this has been, and so he gets somebody to walk in the back door of the wagon, and they become lunch.
A menagerie of mimics.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
So and Paul's working on Crovenloft, and we have the team as soon as we kind of get done with the last pieces of the Gloomport and get all the shipping done. Immediately we're going to the temple, and Luke and I discussed last night we might actually fart around one more time with the title. We've got some ideas and want to throw it out to the group, and we might want to actually really make it a contest of significant import, because we're having some people give us feedback that they can't pronounce it. So Donnie, if you're watching, you might get kicked to the curb.
Dang, that's hard.
It is a great word. It's a
great word.
It's a fantastic word. It's the meaning. It's just, if I see this written down, what in the world am I reading? And is that going to be a stumbling block for someone, a barrier to entry, right? And so
that's where we're playing around with it.
Is that right?
Incarnacious, yes.
Incarnacious.
I mean, I love it, but I am concerned. Given the feedback we've gotten from some folks, it does make me a little nervous. In particular, some retailers that we talked to. So anyway, Donnie, Luke and I still going to buy you dinner next year at Gygax, no matter what, even whether we use it or not. So if you're watching, okay. So we're working on all that stuff, right? And of course we'll hopefully with everything going the way it's going to go, we will somewhere around October 1st we will launch the temple and Guys and Gax 2 and all of that stuff, and we're going to do a contribution round, so you get a chance if you want to out there to contribute a location in particular in this place called the Schadenmere. And the Schadenmere is all around the temple, and there is a lot of corrupted magics in that area, and it's affecting everything, the whole environment. So you go from a fairly normal environment of the Barrowlands, where Ethholm is and all that stuff, and you go north and you come into this mining village of Blun, which is at the southern edge of the Schadenmeer, and then all of a sudden, you start moving further northward and you come into this really creepy, very disturbing location. So we're gonna have some fun with that. We'll send out some emails next week so everybody gets those so they can participate as a contributor. So if you're interested in being a contributor, we're gonna do a meetup and all that stuff, and you'll have a chance to be a part of it.
If you enjoy Schadenfreude, then you will like the Schadenmeer. So
yes. We can't put that in there.
When you delight in other people's sufferings and humiliations and failure. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say the chat is very pro Inquinacious.
Oh, you guys
know.
That's good. That's really good to know, because it's a large portion of the people who we hope are patronizing it. So it's really cool. I'm just worried that it's maybe like one of those superior person's words, right? From that book, Superior Person's Book of Words, or
nice.
Pop Lollies and Belly Bones. Great words, but are people going to look at it and go, "How do I pronounce this?" Because you hear, you hear people pronounce names in Greyhawk, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not how it's
way off."
But when you read it, you don't hear it. That could be different. Now, I just need to update myself, seeing as it's not 1975 or 1985. We can make videos and say the word enough that people will.
That is true. That is true. But we'll see. Obviously it's crowdfunded, and I think a lot of people they're getting things now. In fact, if you're in the chat and you've gotten one of your shipments, please weigh in a little bit. Where I think people are very pleasantly surprised. Luke, I'm hearing a lot.
I think it came in a little slimmer than most people probably thought, though, right?
Oh my God, Luke, that's funny. I
was like, what the heck is this? I was like, I asked them to ship me just a couple of these things, and I got 4 boxes. 4 boxes for 6 sets of the entirety of the. And I was like, oh my gosh, like six cartons, from UPS or whatever, right? Not like 6 boxes, like small boxes. No, 6 cartons filled with. Is that a 4-inch box? It's huge. It's like a 4-inch box.
3.5.
Yeah, it's stuffed with all sorts of things. And then, just the Gygax box is a 2-inch box, right? Yeah.
And
2-inch box.
You haven't got Crovenloft yet, but it's also in a box, which and Crovenloft's magnificent. Paul did a great job, and we had a wonderful group of people working on it to make it great. And I think people are going to love Crovenloft. In fact, like I told you, Luke, we had this wonderful this happened to us to win this Ennie, with Darkenhaven, and Keith, that's the truth. And we went to and we win the Ennie with Darkenhaven, right? And I'm sitting here looking at the environs and the tomb, right? And Crovenloft. And I think we got potentially 3 winners right out of Gygax. And it's very, very exciting. Who knows? I mean, obviously there's wonderful creators out there who make great things. And we don't have, because so many people vote out there in the world, more known brands tend to get a little more love, obviously, than brands like ours that are sort of very, below the radar for most part. But I think we got a shot, and I'm excited to put it out there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, go ahead.
Are well written and very well produced. You know what I mean? So even if you just take a superficial look, the production value on them is very, very high. A lot of artwork. I like the spiral bound. It's durable, and easy to get through. You got the little cards and the props, and all that stuff really helps. Some nice maps, and then if you take some time and read it and see the stories and plots going on, and some of the silly stuff too is fun. Then I think it should be earning some awards, right? But like you said, it takes people to dig in and take a look, right?
Yes. But that's why I think they did do the judges awards, and I think even if we can't win a popularity contest because of obvious reasons, right? I mean, if you have 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 20,000 people supporting your brand, and another group has 50,000 people, it definitely makes it a little more difficult. But I'm very excited for it. Okay, so I want to. Was there no questions about the Satanic Panic, Mandy? Nothing like that.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't go back all the way to the
Oh yeah,
So-
I think
and
they just noted their parents even wouldn't let them play with magic cards at a certain point, which is the early 90s, I would say.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a hangover there, but the 80s it was definitely more pronounced. They were they were gathering in stadiums or large fields and stuff and burning bonfires of like D&D books and that sort of stuff, which my dad, I'm sure it bothered him, but at the same time he was like, that's great. Go out there, have another book burning next weekend. Go buy new sets of these. Burn them. Yes.
yeah.
Keep buying them. Whatever you want, burn them again.
Yeah, it was, my parents both were religious, but never they didn't get caught up in that in any way, shape, or form. And I think I had one friend whose mom expressed some concern, but he had such a good relationship with his mom that he sat down with her and kind of walked her through the whole thing, and then she came to realize it was just like any other game, right? It was and so that really helped in the circumstances to mitigate John being able to play, which was great. So we were able to continue playing with him. So I want to, we're going to get done here in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes, but I think you have some pretty interesting news that that you haven't shared with very many people, and been talking to me about it, and I think people will be very interested to hear what is going on in your circumstance. And Mandy, are you texting Luke? Or is
No. I was actually just looking up the Bible passage that my dad would sign his emails with, which is pretty humorous, right? That he was.
I didn't know he did that. Okay, wait, you got to tell us the story. Tell us the whole story.
Well, he, especially the last 10 years of his life, he got back to, he didn't go to church per se, but he had the Bible out oftentimes, and that was what he'd have: his bird watching book, his binoculars, a magnifying glass because his eyes weren't great, and the Bible a lot of times, and maybe what other book he was researching. He'd sit on his porch, but he signed all his emails with Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. So, that was a meaningful passage to him and that sort of stuff. So it's just kind of funny that, this guy, Satan worshiping guy, was pretty religious. I also heard the same thing about Ozzy Osbourne, by the way, that he was deeply religious, and that's what his kid said, is that he instilled those values in him. So kind of interesting and strange how people make these assumptions and put them on people with no regard to the truth.
Well, people gain from this, right? This is why we all need to be very careful about casting aspersions without really knowing. But if I can put a bow on it, because I would like to. Here we are in 2020, the 2020s, excuse me. And it's very clear that your dad's games and all these other games have such wonderful impacts on not just children who are just, normal, quote unquote, but also special kids, right? And frankly, for special kids, helping truly make their lives better, changing their lives, right? And so here we are in the 70s and the 80s saying this thing is of the devil, and here we are today, and kind of makes me think God might be laughing a little, like he's like, I don't know, you all think and then you don't know, right? And now you know, right? It's a wonderful, it's just, and for your dad, even go ahead, Mandy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Was there any positive, all advertising is good advertising kind of effect, like it?
Certainly, yes, absolutely. So the disappearance of John Dallas Egbert III was a huge shot in the arm for Dungeons and Dragons. That's the young man who was at a University of Michigan. I don't remember exactly what school it was. Brilliant young man, 15, in college, and he disappeared. And his family, were a wealthy family, hired a PI to investigate what was going on. He went into his room and saw maps and D&D stuff, and figured out that they would play D&D in the steam tunnels. I don't know what steam tunnels are, but it's probably just a place where it gave you a little bit of ambiance and you'd go down there and play D&D. So he then extrapolated that there was a satanic cult that abducted him and probably murdered this kid, right? And that was in the news night after night after night. And remember, this is when there was like 3 channels, right? And so everybody watched the news at night and that sort of stuff. So for a week or whatever it was, this was a big giant thing in the headlines, and the the game Dungeons and Dragons. What is that? That became a very popular thing. It was 1979 or 80, if I missed.
And then they did. Was it called Monsters and Mazes or something?
Monsters and Mazes with Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks movie, yes. And so Tom, was that like the first thing? One of the first things he ever did, right?
I believe it. Yeah, it was. It might have been pre-Bosom Buddies, even. Yeah. So.
And so Tom Hanks ends up playing a character similar to him, and goes into the sewers and disappears.
Yeah, it's totally worth checking. Monsters and Mazes is a laugh. It's a laugh a minute. It's pretty bad, but it's fun. Yeah. Flash forward here to modern day, as we go, and I'll speak to some things here. So I've been obviously working to keep my dad's name out there and his works and promote those, and through GaryCon and other things. And it's been great. I've rekindled friendships with a lot of people, met great folks like yourselves. And just in 2025, in Wizards of the Coast would sometimes support GaryCon in some small ways through Adventurers League and things like that, and send some guests, and then sometimes they wouldn't, right? But there was a new franchise head of Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't know him. I'd kind of heard, oh yeah, some new guy took over. Okay. I didn't care too much. But then Joe Manganiello gave me a call. He's like, hey man, I was talking to this guy, Dan Ayub, who's the new franchise head of D&D. And, he seems like a real good guy. He wants to meet you and talk to you. He's one of the people that he said he wanted to talk to right away when he took over. I was like, okay, sure. So I just had a shoulder surgery. I was 2 days out of my shoulder surgery. So I was on pain pills, but I figured this is a good opportunity. So my wife, Bushra, drove me down there to Venice and Venice Beach. And that's where Joe was living. And we all went out for dinner and talked. And one of the first things after meeting Dan, what he said is, hey, I really just wanted to apologize on behalf of the franchise for what they've done or how they've treated your family. And he said, one of the first things I told the workers and my staff and the people in an all hands meeting is we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we need to realize that and honor the past, because that's everything that's here right now comes from those sources. So and of course I said, Dan, that's not it's not, you don't need to apologize. It wasn't your doing. He said, no, I'm going to say it again. I'm sorry for the way that your family was treated through this. And he said, I would really like to bring you into Dungeons and Dragons again and have a Gygax working on Dungeons and Dragons. And that led to discussions. I think that was August of 2025. And I've gone out there a few times and talked to him. He is very interested. We're going to be doing, it's going to be a little ways down the road just because their production schedule is such, and there's a lot of moving parts. Probably early first quarter of 2028, there'll be Melf's Guide to Greyhawk, and probably the Shield Lands or whatever we're doing there. And then hopefully a 3-part series. Dan played in Founders and Legends, which is something that I do at GaryCon now. It was around the 50th anniversary. And essentially, long and short of it is I wanted people to experience what D&D was like through all of its phases. So you play a character in the same storyline, and you play through all editions of D&D basically over 16 hours of time in a tournament, and there are multiple groups, and you kind of get points and you go through. So it's an exciting adventure. There's a thread that runs through it all the way. People loved it so much, we ended up expanding it into several seasons, and we're wrapping up in 2027 with the 4th season. Mortis is the name of that one, but and it's inspired by some classic adventures of my father's, right? And so and it was really neat. And I brought in, I don't think any of us knew what we were getting into, of course, by doing this, because it's quite complicated, but now we have a good system down. But Mike Merles and Kelsey Dion and Keith Baker and Zeb Cook and my friend Scott Perry, who's he's been running he gamed with my dad as a boy like 4 or 5 times. Had a character in there because he lived in Chicago. His dad knew my dad a little bit, and then he created a gaming club called Warp. I forgot what it stands for. Shame on me. I'm a member for it.
It's hard, Luke. You're like live. Everyone's looking at you. You're talking.
Come on. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Forget all that. What I have learned over the course of creation of all this lore in Zyathé, right, is that it's impossible.
It is.
You cannot remember it all. It is just, it is just not possible. So, no shame.
But we made this great series, and he came and played in it and just had a riot. He loved it because he's a gamer's gamer. He's been gaming since he's 12. He still hangs out with several of his buddies who were in that and they game. And, so that I think could be something that could be adapted in as a product, because why not? It highlights all the additions of D&D. And it's a great story and really interesting, and it brings back a lot of fun stuff. They want me to do some writing in Greyhawk for probably some online, publications. I'm consulting with them on also anything from collectibles to other things. I'm going to go to Gen Con and run some games, stream a game for them, as well as run, I think, at their booth a little bit and do some like world building seminars on their stage. They have a whole building, I guess they're running stuff there. So it's great. And obviously they were at GaryCon in a big way. They're going to be back next year as well. And, basically there's just a lot of good stuff. And there's a lot of announcements coming out at Gen Con. I can't say too much, and I don't want to, I'm under NDA, of course, is very common. But Dan has said these things. Dan and I have said these things before. And there'll be there'll be like some product lines directed at some of gamers who are of my generation, as well as, just really making good products that are fun to play, yes, and that are supported, and having basically, he's talked about the seasons that they're going to have and the releases. There'll be a main release in a quarter, I believe, is how they're going to do it, generally by the quarter method. And then there'll be supporting products around it that will be part of it. Let's say Ravenloft, and then you're going to get, here's the main adventure in Ravenloft, but here's some other side quests that you could be doing. Maybe here's some collectibles, here's some things that would go along to support it. And another thing that they're doing that I thought was really cool, and that hopefully I'll be able to help out with, will be reestablishing their organized play, because that's critical. Critical to be at conventions.
When you told me that last night, I was like, oh my gosh. No, it is. Anyway, so that's happening. Dan is committed to that. They've had tell us the whole thing, because they've had a bunch of stores sign up. There's all kinds.
Yeah, I think he was telling me. Hopefully I don't think this is confidential or anything like that. But I think he said he had over 1,000 stores sign up for it, which was a very big response, like much larger than they thought. And they're very happy with that, to be supporting it, because they want to communicate with the players, with they want to be in touch with the community, right? And they have some feedback programs and things like that. And I suggested, I was like, hey, if you're doing this, and I'm going to write some modules, or even if there's modules by other folks, I would love to go out and hit some, regional stores or new stores opening, or just help them celebrate something and run, maybe debut some of these adventures at their stores and talk about D&D and the positive aspects and the history and all that sort of stuff, and just be able to help promote all the good aspects of it and have some fun and really help bring in some new players, because we always need to be bringing in fresh players, right? That's important. I remember, was it the late 90s, early 2000s that was kind of the low point?
Yes, because of the growth of those really immersive computer games, right? Like World of Warcraft. What was the other one?
EverQuest.
EverQuest. Yes, those two were the biggies, but there was 4 or 5 others, and they really, I think, hit the business very, very hard, right? Go ahead, Manny.
We have some questions from the chat.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's go.
Luke, will you ever do anything with Critical Role?
I love the Critical Role guys. They've been very nice. They've been very kind to me. Always. Matt Mercer. I appeared on a DM show they did on the Nerdist channel way back in 2015 or 2014. And so I met him there, and he was a gentleman to me back then. And then when I did my first streaming event on my dad's birthday, which I called Founders and Legends, which I took the name for that tournament from, they gave me their studio and said, oh yeah, we just got a studio. So here, you need a place to do it. You can do it here. And all their staff, all their, tech staff said, yeah, we'll work the weekend. You know,
Wow.
I paid them, of course, but they'll work. So I put that together in like 3 weeks.
That's
Well, no one would have known that. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, it was 12 hours of streaming. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, how hard can it be? We're just streaming for 12 hours. No big deal. Oh my God. It was like $20,000, by the way. That was, and I had no sponsors. My wife was very unhappy with me that I did that. So that was that was a lot. It is still a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But it was really cool, and they were great. They said just cover up the Critical Role backdrop. So yeah, I love the dudes at Critical Role. I went to their 10th anniversary party. I see them at conventions. They've just been super duper busy, and I understand. Just like the other guys who are very successful, real nice young guys. I guess they're in their 30s.
The Legends of
the Moon. Yeah, Legends of Evantris.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Super
met
nice
them
guys.
at GaryCon. They were really great.
They were like, oh, we're sad we couldn't make it this year, but we got this, we're working on it. And I said, dude, I totally get it, man. That's fine. Hopefully we'll see you next year. Come back when you can. But it's same thing as Matt Mercer and his team and all those guys. They came to GaryCon, or Matt came to GaryCon 10, and Brittany Wallach, and he was super kind to everybody. He was just a great guy. So yeah, no, they are great people. As kind as you think they are, they are that nice. That's real. That's genuine. They're good people.
I think that's just our community in general. That's just
it is,
because I mean, there's like celebrities, but they're people. They're not jaded by LA. No, sorry.
Where you live, where you are right now, Mandy.
A good question from Cassius.
Yes.
The Okram stuff has been kind of put on hold because they really want me to focus on doing Greyhawk stuff and working in this vein. I have a lot of raw material. I would probably need to bring in like a project lead to go over and put together a final setting book for the world of Okram. I really see me focusing on the Melf's Guide stuff for the next couple of years and really getting that out to a larger audience, which would only help when I release the Okram stuff by building people who've seen my work and if they like it, they'll want to also look at that. So, or maybe we'll create an El Qadim sort of setting officially and do a D&D stuff that way. So wouldn't that be kind of fun? So
yes.
They're trying to start RPGA. I don't know if they're going to do anything quite like the RPGA. It was pretty cool though, the RPGA, the idea of gaining levels and that sort of fun stuff. And
that was cool. The logistics of it. I mean, it might be easier with the way computers are today. Like, I mean, you could have a database that's easier to access. But I mean, we've looked into logistics of this for even like Gooey Cube. There's been like a desire from a lot of people to be able to do that. And logistically, I don't think we would be able to, but Wizard of the Coast does have a lot more resources. So
they do, but they're a publicly held company as well, right? So they have to answer to the shareholder and all that sort of stuff. And so too many resource drains, and I hate resource drain.
It's a good way to put it, because you do have a finite. And if you think about the gaming community, like not everyone can go to these conventions. You're trying to reach a broad audience, and there's a certain subset who are able to travel or hopefully live in a place with a convention that has an RPGA tournament. So it's very fair. As someone who does a lot of game organization, it's a lot of work. So
yeah, but the thing is, Mandy, here's the thing. Our business, right? What you and I do every day, right, is marketing, right? That's what Kim, the marketing guy, and all that crap, is the truth. And I will be Kim, marketing guy, for a second, because I was pretty down on them during the OGL crisis. I understood why they were doing it. I tried to present a balanced presentation to people when I was talking about it, and I've never had so many viewers, Mandy. Isn't that crazy? Kim, the marketing guy, is way more popular than Alphinius. but I also am a big believer that when someone responds to their constituencies and they recognize they've made mistakes and they come around the corner and they say, hey, listen, we're sorry, we made these mistakes, we're changing, and they're doing things that are clearly demonstrating that they're changing, not just doing lip service, that deserves to be honored, not debased. And I really I encourage people who are mad, right, and with good cause to be mad.
I wasn't very happy with a lot of stuff that was going on, if we're being honest.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, and frankly, Luke, as I said when I was Kim, the marketing guy, right?
Yeah,
I thought it was nuts. I'm like, Luke, what did you tell me last night about recognizability of the Dungeons and Dragons brand?
Oh yeah, it has a 90. I believe this is the correct stat. 94% name recognition. So people say, what is Dungeons and Dragons? Or have you ever heard Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, and they may it's a fantasy board game, or they may not get it quite correct, but they know that it's a game.
They know the brand, and they know kind of what it is. Yeah. And that kind of thing. You're talking about companies like Google that have that.
It's insane. That's incredibly high.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it as Kim, and I'm like, this is nuts, because all they did, and you can see what they did, was open the door to competitive systems because they alienated their audience. And I haven't looked at their annual reports and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not sure how deep they delve. So, but I would believe that before the OGL crisis, the share that Dungeons and Dragons had of the TTRPG market was monumental, like the envy of many companies in the world, right? Yeah. Right. And then you do this, and I know their share took a hit. And
to be honest, I think the quality, like the production values are nice. They pay great artists, and they have very talented people working on it. But the quality of the stories weren't that good, and they weren't really appealing or providing what people want. They were sort of disconnected in like, where is this going? And so, Dan, really, from talking to him, he recognized this stuff, and he's like, man, I'm a gamer. I love gaming. I want to see this go. He was working in really computer gaming. He was a video game designer, or ran video game design company most recently. And that, of course, is, as a franchise head of D&D, he'll still do D&D video game. He's responsible for that aspect of it as well. But he knows that the sort of the soul of even the video games, or the soul of D&D, is the written work and people playing it. Preferably, I think we all prefer playing in person, right? Doing video conferencing is a great way to keep a group together that's spread out geographically or whatever. But man, we talked about this last night, just almost the ritual, I guess I might call it, of coming to, someone's house, the pre-gathering, the exchanging information and catching up with one another, and then everybody's there, and then, you get
food, right? You eat, right? Food, drinks, yeah.
This is a very connective human social stuff that's super important and adds a lot of benefits, man. A lot of benefits. Yeah. So, but that's the soul of it. And that's where do all these great ideas come from for video games? They often come from the written word. Yeah. And then people are like, oh yeah, we should now adapt this into a video game, or right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and much love, obviously I've lost my parents, as well, and I know how hard it is, as you get older and you lose these people who had so much to do with your life. But I guess the thing, and your dad was obviously alive long enough to get sort of past the satanic panic and all of that stuff. But I wish he could see, and maybe he can, right? Maybe he is seeing, right? I wish he could see the beyond the game, beyond the fun, the human impact of his work on millions of people, and it's magnificent, and he deserves. Yeah. I'm hoping lots. Sorry, go ahead.
To be absolutely honest with you, I mean, I didn't realize the impact the game had. I thought, oh, my dad was a talented game designer, did this revolutionary thing that brought a lot of fun to people, right? And that kind of there, right? And I knew, but I mean, anecdotally, I knew it helped people, right? Because I'd seen some of my friends or associates, had benefited from it. But now I've heard from hundreds, if not thousands, of stories where people say, I had a rough childhood for alcoholic parents, abusive, whatever the case may be, divorce, parent that was terminally ill or fighting some sort of D&D was a way for me to escape. It was a way for me to realize that I could be strong, that I could influence my world. And then you got people who had incredibly shy or had learning disabilities, and the game inspired them to want to learn how, because it looked so fun, right? And then people didn't know what dyslexia was or whatever the case it might be. Right. And they go through it. Probably autism as well. There's cases where you learn how to interact with people and you learn the rules of the game, and then you're able to apply some of those rules really basically to interacting in real life and connect with people in a way and understand it, and so there's all sorts of just wonderful things. Or I just made best friends. These have been my best friends for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. Just that.
It's amazing, right? It's amazing, because the truth is you share a life. It's an imaginary life, right? With people who also share that life, and you do wonderful things and you have impacts. And it is, there's nothing like it. I still love it to this day. Okay. # Chet, all y'all out there. # Chet gets you entered to win the opportunity to get a Chet pillow, not the one that I've been sitting on.
No, it's not that one. We'll send a new one.
I thought I thought that was just misspelling chat. I was like, wow, someone really.
No, it's
Mandy's hungover. Boy, she really.
She is hungover.
The first thing said with Luke Gygax, instead of live with Luke. I am very tired. Someone in the chat said I look like I'm half asleep, and it's not wrong, but I have been very fascinated by all the stories you told today. Luke, you did a great job. So
this is wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, let me pat myself on the back here.
I know you talk about this stuff a lot. This is part of what you do is go on and engage with people. And I think it's fantastic. Just so I think it's amazing that you keep up a live stream schedule to connect remotely with people and do your convention, and phenomenal. So I'm sorry, Luke. I admire you.
Thank you. And gamers are really good people overall, and so it's a pleasure to be able to interact with them. And it's a great business to be in. Really. Yeah, great business to be in. Incredibly profitable. It's but really,
gotta rub it in, Luke. I say to people all the time, I have never had so much fun. I have made so many wonderful friends. I have been able to express this creative thing that is in me in ways that I never could in the advertising world. I just want to be able to pay our people. That's all I really care about. And we're going to get there. I am convinced of it. I'm very excited for Gygax too. I think I think people are going to love the temple. Won't be elemental evil, right? It'll be the corruption and then all those things we've been talking about. Yeah. I think if we can pull it off, the infiltration of Blun and trying to be the evil adventuring party, and that idea, I think it'll be a series of spectacular adventures. It's teaching a really, it's going to be very complex, as you and I have discussed, the complexity of it, of having to pretend you're someone else and not get caught and still be able to uncover secrets and all that stuff. That's a game master's, that's kind of the pinnacle of game mastering, to get to that place. And so we're going to have to put some tutoring in there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say some sidebars of maybe some suggestions of how to handle this situation or whatever. And if they blow it and start murder hoboing, is there a way to recover from it? Because just think about it. If you're in the midst of like an enemy stronghold,
yes,
and you're not that high level anyway. Sure, you can probably cause a ruckus and stuff, and maybe you can escape, but then they're on alert and they're looking for somebody to come in and do it. So how do you then go forward and complete the mission? So how do you recover from that? So maybe there has to be some, oh man, groups never listen. It'll be hard. We'll see. What happens.
Anyway, we are 5 minutes over.
Oh, we're over. Okay.
You have lots of stuff to sign.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. So thank you everyone for joining.
Mandy's gonna go back to bed.
No, I'm gonna go see The Mandalorian. We're gonna go.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're gonna see The Mandalorian and Grogu.
And Grogu, exactly. And then tomorrow we're gonna go ride the Millennium Falcon and see the new overlay they've done.
Nice.
So anyway, but yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Luke. And
my pleasure.
how's your hand doing? All that signing that you guys
are doing good. Yeah, see, I had surgery on the left shoulder, so I'm right-handed, so we're good.
Okay, sounds good. So
yeah, we've got to get some more. We ran out of Sharpies. They kind of got so we got to get some more Sharpies, but we'll take care of all that. And then I take Luke to the airport about 4:00 and get him home to be with his. Actually, your kids are in Chicago. Yes,
my kids are in Chicago. They're celebrating with Josh Pop, his daughter's bat mitzvah. So
oh, that's amazing. I love Josh. Congratulations.
Good guy.
So awesome. All right, loves, all you friends, thank you. Luke, thank you so much. It was wonderful. And I really enjoyed the time we've been together. And Mama and I got to come out and hang out with you in Boucher a little bit here in the next few months. Because we got some stuff to plan. So it might be sooner rather than later. So Mandy, love you. Thank you for getting up and taking time in your vacation. And we appreciate you so much. Friends, have a wonderful day. May all your adventures, say it, Luke.
May all your adventures be sticky.
Very good.
Bye.